Hey guys, good afternoon. I am working through some issues right now. It appears that Facebook is banning me again. All right, so I'm having issues with Facebook right now. So stand by again, as I always do. So I put up a post on Facebook. It says on my page, my public page, says I need money for law school. I have a few guns I don't need. I'm not selling guns on Facebook because it violates the rules. So apparently saying you're not selling guns on Facebook, apparently it says your post goes against community standards on guns, drugs, and other regulated goods. No one else can see your post. We have these standards to encourage safety and compliance with common legal restrictions, but yet, let's see. And then if you go to the next page, it says our standards on guns, drugs, and other related regulated goods. Some items aren't regulated everywhere, but because of the borderless nature of our community, we try to enforce our standards as consistently as possible. We define regulated goods as things like buying, selling, or trading recreational or pharmaceutical drugs. That post wasn't about that. Promoting the use of recreational drugs. That wasn't about that. And selling or trading guns, ammunition, or explosives between people. And my post obviously wasn't about that either. So I'm just getting these screenshots real quick before I lose them, and then I'll get back into the show. Sorry, this was kind of last minute. Because this post goes against our community standards on regulated goods, no one else can see it. What would you like? Let us know what you'd like to do. Accept the decision. No one can see your post, and you'll no longer be able to request a review, or request a review. We'll take a look at the post. So I'm going to do a request review because I'm not selling guns. I'm sure someone just reported it because they're morons. And we'll send you an update once the review team has taken another look. But in the meantime, no one else can see your post. All right, so there's that. What was I doing here anyway? I was trying to bring something up. Again, give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm working. I'm working on it. All right. Let me pull up my audio here. All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the podcast today. I wanted to take about 30 minutes and yeah, I'm actually armor or amor patre, amor, patriot love. Is that what that means? Um, I've actually left Facebook. I am taking down my profile, but I'm leaving up my page. And what I'm going to be doing
Or
is
murdered too.
I'm
But there
moving
will be
over
bloody
to
cops.
Yes, and I was talking about a
Hang on
very
one second.
specific
Now I've
incident
got
where the police were beating up an
audio
innocent.
being crazy here. All right, there we go. There's that. There's that. Okay, I'm all set up now. All right, if you go to if you type in Klepper into Google, and you'll come up with the Comedy Central page. If you've got cable and you got Comedy Central as part of your cable or dish or whatever, you can probably log in and see the full episode. I don't have cable. I live out in the middle of nowhere. Plus, I don't want to pay for a bunch of crap that I'm never going to watch. I don't watch a lot of TV anyway. There are a few shows that I like that I follow. I've got things like I've got DC Universe because I love superhero shows, and that used to be. They weren't very political, but they've kind of gotten that way. And so I just don't have cable. So I can only watch the clips of the show, but it is available. The entire episode is available if you have an online login for your cable provider at the Klepper show. So I have not seen the full episode. I've only seen the 3 or 4 different highlights that they've put out there. So I don't even know if the highlights are segments taken out of the full episode or if even those are kind of spliced together. But the highlights really pissed me off, and I wanted to go through them right now and really respond to the way that he's portraying Open Carry Texas and me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play. You're probably only going to hear the audio. If it looks like there needs to be a description, I'll let you know. So in this first clip, me and Jordan Klepper, sat down at Backyard Barbecue out in Morgan's Point Resort, a very patriotic, pro-gun, pro-liberty owned restaurant. So if you ever want and it's really good barbecue. If you ever want really good barbecue and you're in the Temple, Belton, Morgan's Point area, Backyard Barbecue is both pro-gun and pro-freedom. And that's who they're owned by. So that's why we went there and we sat down to have this interview. I don't normally take my AR-15 with me when I go to eat. I don't do that anymore. We did that back in 2013 and 14 as to raise awareness to the fact that, hey, look, I can carry this AR-15 everywhere, and I still can, but I can't. If you see a pistol, then I'm suddenly a criminal. So that's what we did to get open carry passed. But I don't any longer carry my AR-15 into restaurants and places like that. It's uncomfortable. I mean, do I care if other people are made uncomfortable? Not necessarily, but I don't usually do things unless I have a purpose for doing it. I don't need to carry my AR-15 openly because I can carry my pistol openly, and that suits my needs. My needs. It doesn't matter what anybody else needs or wants, but my own. And so anyway, but because he wanted the visual of us having a conversation in a restaurant while I'm carrying my AR-15, we did that. And I contacted Backyard Barbecue and made sure it was okay with them. I knew it was, but it was okay with them. And what's interesting is, and I don't know if in the full show he brings this up at all, but you notice people are just eating and minding their own business while we're sitting there talking. And I've got an AR-15 strapped to my chest while I'm eating delicious fried pickles. So that's the backdrop to what you're about to hear. So this is one of the clips from the Klepper show. The title of this clip is, Does White Privilege Play a Role in Who Has Gun Rights?
You've said some pretty aggressive things towards cops online.
Oh, I have, because I'm very critical of bad cops. But my comments are always geared towards bad cops.
These are your words on a Facebook
Yes.
post. Thugs and cowards. I swear if I ever saw this happen, I'm getting arrested or murdered too. But there will be bloody cops.
Yes, and I was talking about a very specific incident where the police were beating up an innocent, unarmed man.
But you are going online and you're ginning up hate.
I'm talking about violence towards people who are being violent.
All right, so listen to how he says that. He says, I'm going online and I'm ginning up hate. I was responding specifically to an event. I was responding specifically to an event that happened in Lampasas for that particular comment about if I saw this happening, there would be bloodied cops. Okay, and what I meant was there were several police officers who had pulled over a kid. I think he was like 19 years old or something like that. I don't know, something like 19 years old, and they the kid obviously didn't suck up to him. He kept asking questions. They ended up beating the crap out of this kid, and because he's standing up for himself, no issues whatsoever. But they're beating the crap out of this kid simply because he asked a question. And this was in Lampasas Police Department. And so I specifically responded, if I saw cops beating up someone for no other reason than, they said something, then I would get involved. And there would be bloody cops. And I also specifically said in that comment, and I know he glossed over this part, yeah, I'd probably be injured or killed in the process, but I'm not going to sit and let anyone in government assault a citizen just because he used words that the cop doesn't like or he asked a question. That I'm not going to let that happen. And so I went on this story where they were talking about this particular story online. I think it was on Facebook. And I said, if I saw that happening, there would be bloody cops. Why? Because I'm going to get involved. I'm not going to allow anyone. I don't care. Look, I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're a citizen. I don't care who you are. If you're beating up on someone and they're helpless, so, maybe they're smaller than you, maybe it's a woman, maybe it's a child, I don't care. But if I see you unjustifiably beating up on people, I'm going to get involved. However, for some reason, when it's a police officer, we're supposed to think differently. It's supposed to be wrong that you come to the defense of people who are being unjustly beaten just because it's a cop. What, we're supposed to just he's got a badge, it's okay, he can beat that person up. Hell, he can shoot that person. Not a big deal. And so that's what I was specifically talking about. Now, Hugh Shine, the great lib retard Hugh Shine, who is my state representative in Austin here, used this as a campaign issue. I am the only candidate in Texas that the Texas Municipal Police Association has ever come out and held a press conference against. And the title of their press conference was, Why a C.J. Grisham Candidacy is a Danger to Cops. Why? Because of those comments. They used those comments. According to the Texas Municipal Police Association, the fact that I will stand up for myself and I won't allow the police to kill and murder people is a problem. And by golly, we can't let someone who thinks that cops can't just do whatever the hell they want becoming a state representative. And so Hugh Shine, of course, used this lie as well in his campaign against me. And, of course, he had 20 times the money that I had to be able to put out these lies and did so quite regularly. But that's what that was all about. And that's what he's talking about here in that clip. So let's continue with the Klepper show here.
Some groups avoid police out of fear they might get unjustly murdered for any misperceived threat. Yet CJ deliberately instigates armed showdowns.
All right, so what they're showing that you can't see on the video right now, and one of these days maybe I'll get some video editing software that I can show, kind of flip back and forth between screens. But what they're showing is my temple arrest. All right, and he's saying that I intentionally instigate confrontations with cops. And what cracks me up is the average watcher or viewer of the Klepper show is going to be a liberal. And we all know that liberals don't think. They're incapable of rational thought. They're incapable of comprehensive analysis of an issue. And they're incapable of doing anything other than absorbing the information that's being force-fed into their brains by a biased and agenda-driven media. So what a thinking person would hear and see is, let's keep in mind, the video they're showing is my temple arrest. If you look at the video and you look beyond me and the police officer, what do you see? I know you can't see this if you're listening or you're watching the YouTube channel because I don't have it up on the screen. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do this here real quick. Hang on. I'm going to see if this works. I'm gonna hold this. Sorry, my son was calling me at the same time. All right, I'm going to hold this here. I want you to see this as I'm playing it. And I want you to look at something, his words, all right? So here we go. Let's play this again.
Police out of fear they might get unjustly murdered for any misperceived threat. Yet CJ deliberately instigates armed showdowns like a white privilege Icarus.
Okay, I'm sorry. Here, let me pull up my phone so I can see what the hell I'm pointing the camera at. There we go. I'll do this here.
Police out of fear they might get unjustly murdered for any misperceived threat. Yet CJ deliberately instigates armed showdowns.
All right, so you see that? Now, to a free-thinking person like you and me, what do you notice in that picture? What do you see if you look beyond me and scumbag Ermis there, Officer Ermis? You see nothing but pastures and a farm road, a country road. In the middle of nowhere is what you see. All right, let me put this back. All right. And yet, so if I'm truly out there looking for, and I'm instigating confrontations with cops, why the hell am I out in the middle of nowhere? Why am I out in the middle of nowhere on a farm road? And by the way, off to the left, that's our pasture. It's not a pasture anymore. There's a school out there. Actually, this road doesn't even exist like this anymore. It's a 4-lane divided road now. So it doesn't even look the way it did 6 years ago. It's completely different. There's a school. They're building a giant park out there with 4 baseball fields and all kinds of stuff. So it looks completely different. But if I'm instigating something, as Klepper says, if that's all I do is I go out and instigate, why am I not carrying my right? If I want to instigate the police and I want the police to give me a hard time, why didn't I just walk downtown? Why didn't I walk down Adams Boulevard, which is one of the busiest roads down here in Temple? Why didn't I go somewhere where I knew I was going to? Why didn't I walk past the police department? As a matter of fact, the road that I'm on in that is a cutoff, because had I gone straight and not gone down that road, I would have walked right past a police department. I would have walked right past an airport. I don't instigate anything. The only people that have instigated confrontations are the police when it comes to me. I have not broken the law. I've exercised my rights, and everyone should. But what does he call me? He called me a white privilege Icarus.
Like a white privilege Icarus.
This is almost parked, guys.
In 2018,
So now he's showing the video of my almost parked tasing.
CJ and OCT had a standoff with police in Almost Park, Texas.
So you got an AR-15 because a man is lawfully carrying. No, we're not getting on the ground.
Get on the ground.
We're not getting on the ground.
Get on the ground. I'm not going to say you get it.
I'm not doing anything.
Get on the ground. Hey, look at that dog. Get back.
This event was remarkable because no one got killed, and because, in response to CJ's provocation, Almost Park repealed their gun ordinance.
All right, so now, why is it remarkable according to Klepper? Because no one got killed. What's remarkable about that? People are stopped for carrying guns every single day in this country and don't get killed. The problem is that people do get killed. Now, here's what Klepper's going to talk about. He's not going to talk about the fact that exercising your rights freely gets people killed. And by the way, the people that are getting killed, white, black, Hispanic, male, female, doesn't matter. Those are the people getting killed by the police. But he's not going to talk about that. He's not going to talk about that at all. Listen to what he's going to talk about.
It was a tense situation. They asked you to get down, you didn't get down. What do you think would have happened if you were black and that situation arose?
It happens to white people, it happens to black people. When it happens to a black person, they get a lot of credit, they get a lot of attention for it, but when it happens to a white guy, we don't get the same kind of attention. It's not a black or white thing.
I don't think black people are getting credit for dying at the hands of police. That's not exactly a credit they're trying to put on their IMDb page.
What I'm trying to say is, when it happens to a black person, the media gets all up in arms and tries to make a racial issue out of it. When it happens to a white person, it's just a white person.
But essentially,
See, here's the problem with the left, right? The left can't stand or stomach when you speak truth, even when it's politically incorrect. It is absolutely true that when a white man or woman is killed by a cop, except for the Australian chick up in not Geiger, that's the Dallas. Good golly, I just had it in my head. It'll come to me anyway. The woman up in that was killed by the Muslim cop. That she was from Australia. Now, other than that, you generally don't hear about white people who are shot and killed by the police. Literally every day, folks. Over 1,000 people are shot and killed by the police every year. That's about 3 people a day. And not all of them are black. But what he wants to do, what Klepper wants to do, and his leftist ilk, is they want to posit this idea that it's only a problem when black people are killed. That's the only time he cares. He doesn't care that white people... I nearly got killed. I could have very well been killed. When I got tased, my head hit the concrete so hard, it split my head open, gave me a concussion, and to this day I suffer migraines. However, had I fallen on a curb, had I fallen on a rock, had I fallen on a crack in the concrete, I could very well have been killed that day. I got lucky. Now, according to Jordan Klepper, that's remarkable that I wasn't killed. Well, yeah, it was. It's probably a tribute to the fact that I have a hard head, if anything, that I wasn't killed that day. But I guarantee you, Olmos Park Police tried to kill me. They absolutely tried to kill me that day. They were pointing guns at me, loaded. And by the way, this is what nobody knows this yet. Nobody knows this yet, and I have proof of it. We just can't release it because of our lawsuit right now. But I have proof, and I've got pictures and video. When that officer was pointing his AR-15 at me, guess what he did? When he went and grabbed his AR-15, he went to go put his sling on that AR-15. You know where he attached that sling? He attached the sling to the trigger guard of his rifle. The trigger guard of his rifle, he attached that hook onto his rifle. Not and by the way, not behind the trigger, in front of the trigger. And the rifle was not on safe, it was on semi. It is luck that nobody was killed that day by Olmos Park's incompetence and tyranny. It's luck that I'm standing here today. It's luck that Jim is standing here today. Because he stuck that sling, and if you watch the video of my Olmos Park arrest, watch how he's carrying that. Somehow, I think God was watching out for me, that sling hook went underneath the trigger when he was holding it in front of him, instead of actually hitting the trigger. Again, I have proof of this. I've got it on video. We've got pictures of it. I just can't release any of this yet because we can't release any of the stuff that we were given. But I'm telling you, that's how bad and how incompetent Olmos Park Police is. And yet I'm the instigator. These people pointed guns at me and I almost died. Not because I'm white, but because the police can't stand liberty. They can't stand the fact that the people are armed and, as a result, keep their tyranny the way it is. And yet the police think that these douchebag idiot morons with badges who attach the sling for their rifle to the trigger guard, they're the ones that we're supposed to trust with guns? Anyway, back to Klepper.
Actually, it worked for you guys.
It worked because we didn't back down.
I mean, That sounds a little bit like privilege to me.
Oh, no, it's success. That's what it is. It's success because the people that were marching, they didn't care what skin color that was. Sometimes success is ugly. In order to achieve change, you have to sit in the front of the bus.
All right. This is going to trigger. This is what's triggering the left right now. And this is what triggered Klepper. And I want to say this. Klepper was a genuine guy. We had a lot of good conversations. Keep in mind, a lot of this stuff is he's doing this to an audience. Okay, this is how he makes money. This is his shtick. Okay, in person, he's a pretty nice guy. All right, and so we had some really good conversations about guns, and he admitted he's not exactly comfortable with guns, and but he's got an audience that he needs to sell to, and so a lot of this stuff is ginned up and rehearsed in a way to present his picture, right? All right. So now I said somebody's got to stand in front of the bus. I'll tell you what, I'm going to finish this 30 seconds here, and then I want to discuss why I said that.
Are you equating yourself to Rosa Parks?
I'm talking about the very same thing. She risked her life to sit in the front of the bus. I risked my life to stand on that street corner.
You're appropriating a black hero for your...
It doesn't matter if she's black or not.
White savior complex.
No, it has nothing to do with white or black. The people who take a stand are the people who make a difference in life. Mm-hmm. And if, as a white man, if I can't say that Rosa Parks is an inspiration to me, then what good does her sacrifice mean?
Wow.
Wow. So what, because Rosa Parks was a black woman who was fighting for civil rights for black people, I'm not allowed to look at Rosa Parks as a hero? And folks, I do. I look at Martin Luther King as a hero. I look at Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin. Look up Claudette Colvin. She was the first person to sit in front of the bus, but she doesn't get any credit for it. But I look at Claudette Colvin, and I look at Rosa Parks, and I look at Martin Luther King, and there are others. I look at Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. I look at a lot of these people as my heroes. The fact that she's black I don't care if Rosa Parks had been a white woman or a white man even, or a black man. It doesn't matter. What she did was she told the government, no, I am not going to sit in the back of the bus. I'm going to sit right here. And she completely violated the law in order to what? To expand liberty. Now, I haven't broken any laws to expand liberty, but what I have said is, and by the way, and I'll say this too, the laws that she was breaking were not real laws because they were unconstitutional laws. The laws that were saying she had to sit in the back of the bus or go to a different bathroom or eat at a different counter at the sandwich shop, yeah, those might have been laws that were passed by men, but they were unconstitutional laws, and therefore they have no effect. And they should not be. We have a duty to disobey unconstitutional laws. But I've never done that. Everything I've done has been in accordance with the law. The only thing that I've blatantly violated was an ordinance, which is, like in San Antonio, an ordinance that says you can't carry a loaded rifle on a city street or sidewalk. Well, the problem is, at the same time I was violating that municipal ordinance, I was actually complying with state law, which said that ordinance was illegal. So the only people that were breaking the law in anything I've ever done has been the state, specifically the municipalities within the state. So, but the bottom line is, by taking that stand and refusing to back down and refusing to kiss people's ass just because they wear a badge, that is the same thing that Rosa Parks did on for a different issue. Obviously, I'm fighting for gun rights for everyone. My fight is not for white men. My fight is for black women, Hispanic men, Hispanic women. It doesn't matter. Humans. My fight is for humans to have the right to keep and bear arms. Jordan Klepper does not understand that. He does not, because he sees a white man and he thinks he's got so much white guilt on him, and I have zero white guilt, none whatsoever. I have nothing to feel guilty of. I am who I am. I was born this way. I would be just as proud to be a black man as I am proud to be a white man. I would be just as proud to be a black, Asian, lesbian female as I am to be a straight, white Christian male. Because you know what? There's nothing I can do to change that. I can whack off my tallywhacker and whack off my balls, and I'm still going to be a man. I can paint my skin black. I'm still going to be white. The only thing I can really change, I guess, is my religion. Now, you contrast that with, at the same time that Jordan was hanging out with us, because his film crew was here in Texas for about a week or so, and so he was not only, Klepper himself personally was with me, but he sent another crew up to Dallas. Now, I want to tell you something about Open Carry Texas. See, we're not a white group. Open Carry Texas is about gun rights for everybody. We don't care who you are. And I'll put it this way. The Second Amendment is the government's way of recognizing a right that everyone has. Everybody in the world has the right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment of our Constitution only recognizes that within our boundaries, within our borders. So when we're out there fighting Open Carry Texas and we're fighting for gun rights, we're fighting for gun rights for everyone. Yes, including illegal immigrants, including Chinese, including Iranians, including Muslims, including Christians, including South Americans. It doesn't matter. Every person, by nature of their existence, has the right to self-preservation and the means with which to preserve that life. So I'm not fighting for white people. I'm fighting for everyone. And as long as you use those rights in a peaceful way and you don't use them to undercut or undermine someone else's rights, I don't care. That's why I don't care. Look, if you're an illegal immigrant, you're here in this country, you have a right to keep and bear arms as long as you're not using that right to kill other people. And whether the Second Amendment says so or applies to them or not, it doesn't matter. Even without the Second Amendment, we have these rights. Everyone has these rights. Now, I carry guns because there might be illegal immigrants that intend to harm me. And there might be legal immigrants, and there might be legal citizens, natural-born citizens that want to kill me. That's why I carry a gun. But gun rights are for everybody. Now, you contrast this with, this is the other camera crew. So this is about a 6-minute clip compared to the 3-minute clip. Well, I guess I had 2 minutes. There are 2 different clips about me, but that was the one I wanted to cover. Jordan went up, sent his team 2 up to Dallas to hang out with the Guerrilla Mainframe, GMF. So GMF is called the Guerrilla Mainframe. So everybody knows what the Black Panther Party is. There is a gun rights group that is loosely associated or maybe even directly associated with the Black Panther Party called the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. And I support everything that the Huey P. Newton Gun Club does. I'm glad that there is a group of black people out there showing that, yes, gun rights are civil rights and belong to everybody. And that now, are their tactics different than the way I would do things? Yes, absolutely. And that's something that Klepper doesn't talk about, at least in these clips. So those of you who have ever seen the entire show, which I haven't seen the full episode yet, maybe he does cover this idea in there about tactics. But perhaps there's a huge difference when you look at the video of Open Carry Texas. We're not wearing body armor and we're not shouting oink oink bang bang at the cops. We're trying to be as civil as possible. Meanwhile, the Guerrilla Mainframe, listen to how they are acting, and then contrast that also with the way that Jordan Klepper perceives us versus the way that these guys are being perceived.
While I followed a group of predominantly white activists as they open carried in gun-loving Texas, my friend Kobe was following a group of African-American activists open carrying for a different cause.
You got a second now? All right.
Yeah, this is time.
Awesome. Those aren't loaded, right?
Huh?
Those aren't loaded.
No, they are loaded.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're loaded and rocking ready.
Great. Just tell me quickly, why do you guys choose to protest in this manner? So dressed like this, open carrying, why is this form of protest?
Because black people, for the most part in this country, are voiceless. And unfortunately, it takes firearms to be in a black man's hand to get the masses' attention. What we're hoping to accomplish is to get the word out about the recent local shootings.
All right, so they're wearing body armor, which I have no problems with because I wear my body armor from time to time as well, depending on what it is I'm going out there doing and what my agenda or goal is. They're also carrying African flags as well. Again, I have no problems with. I have no problems with anything that they're doing here or why they're doing it. They have a right to do it, and I support their right to do it 150%. I would just do it differently, but I'm not going to tell them not to do what they're doing because they have their ways, I have my ways, you have your ways. I get a lot of criticism for the way I do things as well. So just because I don't support, or not support, but just because I don't agree with the way someone is doing something doesn't mean they should stop doing it.
They were raising awareness about Botham Jean, an unarmed black man who was shot and killed in his own home by an off-duty police officer. The officer...
Now see, and this is the other thing too. So Botham Jean was killed by Amber Geiger, a Dallas police officer who is now facing murder charges up in Dallas for going into this man's apartment and shooting him and claiming that, oh, I thought this was my apartment and that he had broken into my apartment and shot and killed a man in his own apartment, a black man. So it happened to be a white woman, happened to be a black man. It was dark. So I don't think necessarily that race played into it anyway, although there is some evidence that perhaps she did know who he was and there might have been a lover's quarrel there, but we don't know yet. I guess that'll come out in court. I am just as critical about that man being killed as they are. I am just as livid about that man being killed as they are.
claims she thought he was a burglar and shot him, even though, again, he was sitting in his own apartment. But Rakim has other causes as well.
You know, I'm a vegan, so I eat nothing but unprocessed food.
Sorry, I'm just looking at your arms and hearing you say you're a vegan and having
Yes.
a little...
Yes, 5 years. If I lived in this area, I would have to drive maybe 6-7 miles just to get some kale.
Right.
Now, why is that? Why is that? Because there aren't grocery stores that carry a lot of fresh vegetables or even a lot of anything in a lot of these inner city neighborhoods. Why? Because of crime. Do they talk about that? I mean, if you have a business, do you want your business to be somewhere where there are constantly shootings and robberies taking place, armed robberies, and you're losing money because it's constantly being stolen from you? No, people aren't going to open up shops in those kinds of neighborhoods. No one asked that question.
The fruit grocery stores that are here have very little fruits and vegetables.
Right.
And none of them are organic.
Their goals were noble, but I was concerned the guns would actually turn people away from their message. But I was wrong.
We've been walking with them a little bit.
You know why you're wrong? This is why you're wrong. You come down from New York to Texas, and you think like a New Yorker, not like a here in Texas, black, white, for the most part. Obviously, we've got morons here in Texas, but it doesn't matter what you look like. Black, white, gray, we support the right to keep and bear arms. Now, there are some people in this video that are going to really piss me off and disappoint me. And when I get to them, I'll let you know.
It seems like the people in the community are pretty supportive of this. We're getting Black Power signs and shouts of support.
Black Power, brother, Black Power. We love y'all.
Did we just switch neighborhoods? We now have 2 police cruisers behind us. No, 3. Sorry, we have 3 police cruisers behind us. One of the things that makes me a little nervous, right, is that obviously you're going to protest the unjust killing of black people, so you know they sometimes unjustly kill black people, right? There is one right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, okay.
I think
See, they're trying to make it out as if, oh, look, when the black people are out there marching with their guns, look, the police show up all the time. Go to any open carry rally. Hell, every time, when I was up there talking, I'm a white guy, right? I mean, anybody that looks at me, is there any doubt that I might be a white guy? I know liberal has trouble figuring out what gender looks like, but I'm a white guy. When I go to talk to the Speaker of the House, the last time I went to talk to the Speaker of the House's staff, just the staff, I had 5 DPS troopers up there with me. I show up. Now, one escorted me up there. While I was waiting, there were 2. As I continued to wait, 2 more showed up. And then by the time I was done speaking to their staff, there were 5 DPS troopers up there. Why? Because I was openly carrying a gun. Whenever we go out, when I go out on my bike rides, I'm followed by cops. When we have our rallies, we are followed by cops. When we went to Olmos Park, San Antonio PD were there. Every time we do our rallies, the police are there. When I was up in Oklahoma, there was a bunch of white guys. Well, not all of us were white, but 98% of us were white. When I went up to Broken Arrow, and we went to the Rose Festival, the police were shadowing us. What Klepper wants you to think is, oh, look, here's these guys at the parade, and the police aren't bothering them. There were police there. There were police there. But we're not calling for them to be shot, which you're going to hear in just a minute. But this idea that only because black people are carrying guns, oh my gosh, look, the police are there watching them, this is a false narrative. Let's continue.
He admiring my comrade.
That's a glower of admiration
Right.
over there.
Right.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. You look pretty content up
Yeah.
there. So.
Yeah.
Soon we'd be at our destination, an Oklahoma-Texas college football game. They knew this would get attention.
This is the part that's about to piss me off because some people piss me off. Although this guy could have been a liberal, and it didn't matter if they were black or white.
And I knew this would add drunk college football fans to the mix. And shit was getting tense.
He ain't making them feel comfortable today, bro. I'm sorry.
Do you know what this is?
I don't know, but it makes you uncomfortable.
So I want to go back to this real quick.
Oklahoma-Texas college football game. They knew this would get
I'm gonna
attention.
turn this up.
And I knew this would add drunk college football fans to the mix. And shit was getting tense.
He ain't making them feel comfortable today, bro. I'm sorry.
Do you know what this is?
I don't know, but it makes you uncomfortable, don't it? It's not like the America I grew up in for the last 63 years, I promise you.
Yeah, no, I definitely tell you that. We were much more separated before, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. What are they protesting?
Police.
What do you think about that?
I agree with them.
Yeah, in what way?
Police kill too many minorities. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is what pisses me off. Again, so the person that says it makes me feel uncomfortable is a white guy. I can't tell by looking at him whether he's a liberal or a conservative or a libertarian. I don't know. But what makes him feel uncomfortable is the fact that it's a bunch of black guys carrying guns. I get asked this question all the time. Oh, how would you feel, CJ, if a bunch of black guys were walking through your neighborhood with guns? Well, I'd probably go ask them if I can join them. Are they pointing guns at people? Are they shooting them? Are they threatening people? I mean, if they're just walking through my neighborhood and they've got flags, like these guys have flags, this is what pisses me off. You can tell it's very obvious. It's very obvious that these guys are protesting. They've got flags. They're not a threat to anybody. They're in a group. They're all dressed the same. And yet this guy says it makes me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't piss me off that he probably feels uncomfortable because the guy's probably a liberal racist himself and there's a bunch of black guys. What pisses me off is that the sight of a bunch of anybody carrying firearms legally and protesting would make you feel, quote unquote, uncomfortable. It means you're a coward. It means you're a pansy-ass coward who is uneducated. But then he's got these other 2 white guys, and this is also kind of what pisses me off, although it's good to hear that, hey, I support what these guys are doing. Great. And these guys are from Oklahoma, by the way. The 2 that are saying that, I think it's great. They're protesting the police. The problem is what he says about what he's protesting. The police kill too many minorities, he says. I have a problem with that. Let's stop. The police kill too many, period. The police kill too many, period. You don't even have to add the minorities at the end of that. Because the police aren't just killing minorities. They're killing all of us. This is not a people versus black people thing. Or a police versus black people thing. This is a police versus people thing. This is the police that don't like an armed citizenry. This is about the police that don't like a citizenry who will stand up for themselves. As long as you're compliant and do everything you're told and you bend over and yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir, and you give them the respect that they think they're due, you'll never have any problems with police. But by golly, demand that they treat you with respect and your rights with respect, and everything changes. Those people out there watching this video, If you sit there and say, oh, I never have any problems with cops, ask yourself, what have you done to stand up for yourself? I dare you, stand up for yourself, and you see how great these cops think about you. Here's a perfect way to do that in everyday life. When a police officer walks up to you because you've been speeding or whatever, maybe you got a light out in the back of your license plate or something, and a police walks up, and the first thing he says to you is, hi, my name is Officer so-and-so. Can I see your license and registration, please? This is what I do, and I challenge you to do this. Why is that cop asking you for your license and registration? Now, you might know. You might know that you were speeding, or you might not, but you might know, and so you just hand it over. And if all you do is you say, oh, yes, here you go, officer. Oh, I wasn't paying attention, whatever, blah, 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 and you just kind of suck up to him, hoping to get out of the ticket, you're going to be treated great. You're still going to get your ticket, but he's going to be so cordial to you because why? Because you are bending to his every will. You're doing everything he wants you to do. You are treating him like the king that he is, that he thinks he is. But I would challenge you to, those of you that think that, oh, as long as you're respectful to cops, they'll be respectful to you. Next time you're pulled over and a police officer walks up to you and he doesn't tell you why you've been pulled over. Now, some cops, they'll say, hi, my name is Officer Snuffy. The reason I pulled you over today is because I clocked you doing 55 in a 45 zone. May I see your license and registration, please? That's a different story. What I'm talking about is when a police officer walks up to you and says, hi, I'm Officer Snuffy. May I see your license and registration, please? Or he just walks up and says, license and registration, please. Respond this way. Well, why'd you pull me over? 8 times out of 10, what he's going to tell you is, because I've witnessed this myself, and this is what happens to me almost all the time, is, well, give me your license and registration. I'll tell you why I pulled you over. Well, my response is always, well, no, sir, that's not the way this works. You tell me why you pulled me over, and then I'll hand you my license and registration. Because if I've done nothing wrong, then I have no duty to identify myself to you. Now, I'm being respectful about that. So let me go through this, and this is not disrespectful. This is how you do it. Hi, my name is Officer Snuffy. License and registration, please. Actually, I'll make him even sound nicer. Hi, my name is Officer Snuffy. Can I see your license and registration, please? Why'd you pull me over? Well, I'll tell you that as soon as, just give me your license and registration, and I'll let you know why I pulled you over. Well, I mean, with all due respect, officer, if you have no reason to pull me over, I have no reason to identify it. Look, sir, give me your license and registration. That's how it's gonna go. You are gonna see an immediate shift in his attitude when you dare to question him and force him to tell you why he just pulled you over. And then you tell me that I'm wrong. That's what it's about, power and control. So that's what drives me nuts about getting back to this video, that this guy is sitting here saying, oh, yeah, I understand why they're protesting. They're protesting because too many minorities are getting killed. No, too many people are getting killed by cops.
People had wildly different reactions. But before I could process them, we were marching into a crowd of police officers.
You have to go back out. Is this public property? You have to go back out. What's your name and badge number, sir? Sergeant? Sergeant Ford. They're stopping us. Fall back. No, we don't have to go to the intersection. We know our rights. All right, family, we gonna carry on.
All right, so they're trying to get into the fairgrounds. Now, in their defense, so two issues at play here. In their defense, the fairgrounds is public property, and I've fought this very same thing in Waco. Just like this group here. So what the Klepper show wants you to see is a bunch of black people being told to leave and not being allowed in because they've got guns. What they won't tell you is, well, a bunch of white people tried to do the exact same thing here in Waco, and the police did the exact same thing here. As a matter of fact, I got a police officer suspended without pay because of his attitude when I was trying to ask him questions about the way that he treated me and talked to me when I went to the Heart of Texas Fairgrounds and tried to get in with my firearm, and they didn't let us in. There were several of us, white guys. So again, this isn't... Now, the law, I think, is very clear that if it's public property, like fairgrounds, which is public property, they cannot block you from keeping and bearing arms there. They can't. And so these guys, I think, would have been just as justified as I was in pushing the issue and not turning around and leaving. But they did what I would have done, which is there's a time and a place for those things. And they ended up realizing, okay, we can push this and get arrested, or we can just turn around and fight this another way, which is what I did as well. But this isn't just happening. They're making it look like these guys marched into a field of cops. Well, yeah, because they were going into a place where the law, in my view, is very clear, but legally, or at least judiciously, is somewhat cluttered about fairgrounds and whether or not they're private property during the fair, because the fair does lease, and the fair is a corporation, does lease the fairgrounds that, by the way, you and I pay for.
Bang, bang! Bang, bang!
So listen to this again, all right? They get turned around, right? Now listen to what they're chanting.
Family, we gonna carry on.
Bang, bang! Bang, bang! Bang, bang!
Officers, excuse me, I'm so sorry. we're just doing a piece. We're covering that protest group that was just here. All
right, this is kind of funny. I'm gonna say that, but never will you hear, as pissed off as I am at police and the way that they treat gun owners in Texas, and look, I respect law enforcement, and I will treat a cop with the exact same respect he gives me. I don't respect every cop that walks up to me. I respect the ones that walk up to me and are respectful to me. I don't have respect for any government agent at all. I don't care at what level you are. I don't have respect for government that takes my money, tells me what to do, and runs my life. And anyone that works for the government is already suspicious of. I'm suspicious of them. So I don't just respect a cop just because he's a cop. I don't. But if a person who's wearing a uniform comes up to me and he's respectful, I'll be respectful back. So I respect people. I don't respect government. No one should respect government. They should appreciate it, and when it works within its constitutional bounds, when it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is simply to protect liberty. That is the sole purpose of government, is to protect individual liberty. When they're doing that, they can have my respect, but I don't just automatically respect cops. But you will never hear me say, I will always treat them with respect, but you will never hear me say, oink, oink, bang, bang. You will never hear me call a cop a pig, because I just don't cast an entire group of people. Now, I might, to a specific cop, to his specific face, if he's doing piggish things, I might do that. I still wouldn't. I don't do that. There's nothing wrong with it. But so I just don't do that. But here's the Klepper show. They're not even making the connection that, gee, do you think, assuming that we do have a problem between cops and black people, do you think the whole oink, oink, bang, bang thing helps their cause? Look, I support it. Again, I'm not going to tell them they can't do it. And I'm not going to criticize them for doing it. I know where they're coming from. But does that bridge the gap between the two? No. Does it make them a sympathetic defendant? No. And unfortunately, the law doesn't really mean crap anymore. The law means whatever a jury and a judge says it means. And so if you're going to be doing these kinds of things, then why make it worse? Now, Mr. Razor Harass, public transportation is not off limits. I don't know if you're in Texas or not, but in Texas, they cannot ban you from carrying a gun on public transportation. So if someone is doing that and they have a rule against that, then they're breaking the law, and I can help you with that. I can help you fight that. We fought that in Dallas, and we fought that in San Antonio. So public transportation, you can, under Texas law, they cannot stop you from carrying a gun openly or concealed. All right, let's get back to this Klepper show.
I was just curious, what's your reaction to that group that was protesting?
Oh, I'm not getting on camera with that. They have every right to be here and do their stuff.
We are here to simply keep everyone safe.
Got it. Got it. All right. Thanks so much, officers. Have a good day. Oh, by the way, who do you think's going to win today?
Well, Texas is actually up.
Oh, no, sorry. I actually meant in the impending race war.
See that nonsense stupidity? This is what pisses me off about. This is supposed to be funny. Oh, who's going to win today? And it's the Texas-Oklahoma game. Oh, who's going to win today? Oh, well, Texas is up right now. No. I mean in the impending race war. What kind of stupid-ass question is that? Oh, okay, you're in Illinois. Okay, that might be a little bit different there. Actually, it's a lot different there in Illinois than here in Texas. Here in Texas, they are not allowed to block you. But Hey, thank you, HBO Matt, for that $2. I appreciate it. I really do. Who's going to win today? Texas? Texas? Who's going to win today? Oh, Texas is up, says the cop. Oh, no, I mean the impending race war. And the cop's looking at him like, dude, what the hell is your problem?
Different games.
Different games.
You have a good one.
Y'all have a good one.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in Gonzales, we were seeing a different reaction.
How's your interactions with police been?
Well, I shook their hands, and they shook our hands, and other than that, we didn't have any interactions whatsoever.
There are certain groups that are fighting out.
So did you hear that? How was your reaction? How was your interaction with the police been? Oh, it's been great. Why? Well, we went up and we shook their hands. And they shook our hands. We didn't go up to them saying, oink, oink, bang, bang. We didn't go up to them, and these are the same people, again, that I stand up to all the time. It's funny how in one clip, the last clip that I showed you, I've got all these problems with cops. And believe me, cops have problems with me. I've got entire associations, police associations, that loathe me. Go to the Cleat Facebook page and look through their videos. They've got a video that they use my testimony on where they talk about how much the people hate cops. Cops are under attack. There's so much hate. And I'm one of the stars of that video for Cleat, the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas. The TMPA hates me. Cleat hates me. But you know what? I don't go up and I don't go walking around screaming oink, oink, bang, bang. Instead, I go up to the police and I shake their hand. And what I'm telling them subliminally is I'm telling them, you respect me and I will respect you. Just like in Olmos Park. I had respect for those cops until the moment they started pointing guns at people. I called the police chief and had a decent conversation with him. I didn't call up the police chief and say, you're going to get shot, oink, oink, bang, bang, for all the crap that you were doing. No. I tried to have a conversation and figure things out, but ultimately I stood up to them. So that's why, Jordan, Klepper, our interactions in Gonzales were slightly different than the interactions up in Dallas. Up in Dallas, nobody got hurt, nobody got killed, nobody got shot, nobody got arrested. In Gonzales, nobody got hurt, nobody got shot, nobody got killed, nobody got arrested.
Out of necessity, you guys feel like you're fighting for just the idea of more gun rights.
I want to play that one more time because he completely mischaracterizes why we're fighting here. And I want you to listen to the leftist idea of what happens when the difference between a white person fighting for gun rights and a black person fighting for gun rights in the mind of a leftist. Again, HBO Matt, thank you for that $2. I appreciate it.
Hands, and they shook our hands, and other than that, we didn't have any interactions whatsoever.
There are certain groups that are fighting out of necessity. You guys feel like you're fighting for just the idea of more gun rights.
What? I'm fighting out of a necessity as well. There's a reason that Open Carry Texas exists. And the reason that Open Carry Texas exists and there is a necessity for us to fight is because the NRA does not fight. There was nobody fighting in Texas when Open Carry Texas came around. It's just as much of a necessity for me as it is for the Black Panther Party, for the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, and for the Guerrilla Mainframe. Now, there might be different motivations, but we both have the same need. There's the same necessity. Our gun rights are under attack. Hey, take care, Cop Block Hot Springs. Be safe. So that really drove me nuts. What, because I'm a white guy, I don't have to fight for rights? Bull crap. You just played in the same show me getting arrested and tased. Obviously, there's something that needs to be fought for. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting tased and arrested. As a matter of fact, I would love for the day that I don't have to worry about getting tased or arrested, and you don't have to worry about being tased or arrested, because when that day comes, Open Carry Texas is no longer necessary. And it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, female, gay, straight, it does not matter. But there is a necessity to protect every constitutional right that we have. Every American
What I'm asking for is for our rights to be respected.
See, that's what that is. I'm asking for our rights to be respected. Now, what does Jordan come back with? More nonsense.
Look at you and see you as oppressed.
When you have to get permission to exercise a right, that's oppression.
I'm gonna skip
What
that
I'm
one more
asking
time.
for is for our rights to be respected.
I don't look at you and see you as oppressed.
When you have to get permission to exercise a right, that's oppression.
Am I right? When you have to get permission from the government to exercise a right, is that not the definition of oppression? But see, notice what he said. When I look at you, I don't see oppression. Because Jordan apparently has got a lot of white guilt. And he looks at me and he doesn't see an American. He doesn't see a Texan. He sees a white person. That's the problem with the left. And these are just clips from Gonzalez.
I'll tell you the thing I get tired of is the idea of this is my right, I can do it, gets in the way of this is my right, should I do it?
So I definitely think that's a difference between these two groups is just, people feeling like it's my right so I can do it, and people feeling like, no, I don't have my rights respected so I need to do something.
Well, that's not a difference. That's what Klepper just does not seem to understand. What Klepper doesn't seem to understand is, let me play this one more time. God, man, I tell you.
My right, I can do it, gets in the way of this is my right, should I do it?
And here he's going to talk about the difference between these two groups. I'm telling you right now, there is no difference between why we fight between Open Carry Texas and the Guerrilla Mainframe or Huey P. Newton or the Black Panthers.
So I definitely think that's a difference between these two groups is just, people feeling like it's my right so I can do it, and people feeling like, no, I don't have my rights respected so I need to do something.
That's exactly why we do it. That's exactly why Open Carry Texas exists, because we don't have our rights respected. That's why we do it. We do it for that reason. Not just because I can, although that's my coined phrase, because I can. That's true. But if my rights were respected, Open Carry Texas wouldn't exist. That's why we do it. If my rights were respected, you wouldn't be showing clips of me getting arrested. You wouldn't show clips of me being tased and having my head cracked open on the concrete in Texas. If my rights were respected, I wouldn't have been jailed 3 times, had guns pointed at me several other times, and gotten into heated discussions dozens of other times over these things. And that's just me. This is happening everywhere in Texas and throughout the country.
Guerrilla Mainframe fascinated me, especially their strategy.
My sense is these guys aren't really that militant, that they're actually just doing a kind of political theater. And as an undergraduate theater major, I remember a term or two that I will probably use incorrectly with them.
To learn more about how they selected their tactics, I decided to join Guerrilla Mainframe for a political theater rehearsal. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself it was to make me comfortable going to a gun range.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so the rest of this really is just them at the gun range. The Guerrilla Mainframe takes them shooting, talks to them a little bit about gun rights, lets them shoot down range and all that kind of stuff. That's the rest of the video. That's all I really wanted to cover today. It really frustrated the heck out of me. I mean, I knew going into this, I knew that it was going to be skewed. I mean, you could talk to anybody that was a part of this, anybody that I talked to. I know a lot of people didn't want to take part in it because they knew that Comedy Central was going to that Comedy Central was going to skew it. And so that is what it is. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to call it out. Okay? I'm going to call it out for what it is. And you've got these, just like where was it? Greta Teeve says, they take their big city attitude, they bring it down here, and start applying their values and beliefs to us. All right. I got to get going, folks. Again, you can go to the Comedy Central, look on Klepper. It's Klepper. If you've got Comedy Central, you can look at it online through whoever your service provider is. You can watch the entire show of Klepper and gun rights. And there's another clip in there as well about me riding my bike with my rifle that I didn't want to really cover because that was more visual than it was something I could use for radio. But y'all take care, be safe, be free, and love one another.